Hey there, and welcome back to the Steel City Sports Podcast. Today we have what is quite possibly the biggest trade in NBA history to talk about. I don't know if a caliber player of Kevin Durant has ever been traded. A top 15 player being traded, I don't think has ever happened in the history of the NBA. You can argue Kevin Durant's a top 10 player of all time just from a skill standpoint. So, usually when big-name guys like this move teams, it's in the offseason. They leave in free agency. But Kevin Durant's been traded to the Suns. And, there were reports after Kyrie had been traded to the Dallas Mavericks that, the Suns were interested in pursuing KD. I didn't really buy into that. I thought, since he requested a trade last offseason, and one of the teams on his list was Phoenix, I thought, it's not going to happen now because it didn't happen in the offseason, but it did. I think a big part of this is new ownership taking over in Phoenix. I think the new owner just took over, I think last week. Robert Sarver, arguably one of the worst owners, if not all time, definitely of this era. He's one of the worst, historically a cheap owner and not really a good moral guy as well. So bringing in a new owner, he's much more aggressive, obviously. His first big thing is bringing in Kevin Durant, which is something I didn't think was possible to trade for KD. And I thought after the Mavericks trade, what they got back with Finney-Smith and Dinwiddie, those are really good role players. And just adding that to the depth of Brooklyn, it looked like Brooklyn was going to be a very deep roster, a really good defensive team, and they would kind of be able to build something around KD. But no, he's with the Suns now. And I do probably have to make another video where we just talk solely about the mess the Nets really caused with having their big three of Durant, Harden, and Kyrie. And, in the span of a year, they're all gone. Last offseason, Harden was traded to Philly. This deadline, Kyrie and KD are now gone. And I know they got 4 unprotected picks from Phoenix, but all of their picks basically belong to Houston until I believe 2028, through swaps and just unprotected picks. So they don't have their own picks for a long time. They're getting Phoenix's picks that if this trade works out, which, I'm hesitant to say if this will work out just because long term, KD's been a very, tumultuous kind of guy. And also, I was so high on whenever they traded for Harden. I thought the Rockets got absolutely fleeced. But it's just a good example of we don't know how these trades are going to play out until we've seen it play out. And Harden basically only played a season, with the Nets. And for that, they don't have any of their picks. It's all in Houston. And, Kyrie's gone, KD's gone. Let's look at this from just the on-paper standpoint. The Suns, I think, are the favorite. I would say the clear favorite in the West right now. Before the KD trade, I didn't really think there was a team in the West that really was the clear favorite. There's the Nuggets. They look good, but they haven't really proven themselves in the postseason yet. The Grizzlies are up and coming, but I still think they're a piece away. My Warriors have had a they've been struggling a lot this season. Obviously, Steph's been hurt. I don't really think this is a year for the Warriors. Even if Steph were to come back and play, at MVP level like he was, I don't really think I don't think this is a year for them. And they also just traded James Wiseman as well, which is kind of sad. But again, that's another video we'll make about all the other deadline moves. But you're going to have a lineup of Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. I would guess TJ Warren or maybe Torrey Craig will play the 4, and then you'll have Ayton. The fact that they didn't have to give up Ayton in this deal is kind of mind-boggling to me because back whenever they were considering trading him in the summer, the main piece would have been Ayton and Bridges and stuff. But it turned out to just be Bridges, Cam Johnson, and Jay Crowder, who didn't even want to be on the Suns. I don't really look at Jay Crowder as a big piece for the Suns because he wasn't even playing for the Suns. He kind of voiced that he was unhappy with his role there. So that's not really much for them to give up. And 4 first-round picks. And I think a 2028 pick swap as well, something like that. All unprotected, I get it, but like I said, they're the clear favorite to win right now. And I know Chris Paul hasn't looked very good this season. You know, ever since that Mavericks series last year and the end of this season, he hasn't really looked like the same player. I think you can obviously blame age for that. Devin Booker just getting back off of injury. This is crazy. You know, I cannot wait to see the Phoenix Suns play basketball. I just watched Kyrie play his debut with the Mavs last night. I thought that was going to be the big thing coming out of the deadline, but no. KD's a Phoenix Sun. Let's look at this from the Nets standpoint. They have a really strange team. It's just basically a bunch of role players, which I think you can make the playoffs with the roster they have right now. Jacques Vaughn has really impressed me as a head coach. Whenever KD and Kyrie were playing and healthy, they were one of the best teams in the league. So now that you have this amalgamation of just a ton of role players that are pretty good. You know, you have Dinwiddie, obviously you have Bridges, you have Cam Johnson, you have Claxton, you have Ben Simmons, you have the two shooters, Harris and Curry. So this team's very, very deep. It can be potentially a very good defensive team as well. Obviously, they're completely out of contending. You know, they don't have anyone near an all-star level. Maybe Mikal can flourish as, like, I guess he's the best player on the Nets now. Now that he has his own team, because he was pretty much the either third or fourth option on the Suns at any given night. Now I'm guessing he's probably going to be the number one option on this Nets team. So maybe Bridges can develop into a all-star with the Nets, but overall, they don't have an all-star level talent on this team. Like I said, they can still make the playoffs with this roster. It's going to be very interesting to see how the Nets perform going forward. And yeah, they did flip Jay Crowder to Milwaukee. We know Milwaukee was rumored to want Jay Crowder for basically the entire season. They finally get him, which I like that pickup. But again, this video is just solely about the KD trade. I think the Suns, they're the clear favorite to come out of the West now and probably win it. You know, I don't think there's any team in the West right now that threatens the Suns, given their, getting KD. In the East, I only think there's two realistic teams that could beat this team, and that would be Milwaukee, who beat them in the finals 2 years ago, or Boston, which was they were in the finals last year. So it's going to be really interesting to see, and if this team does not at least get to the conference final, it's going to be a complete disaster, This team, they went all in on KD. You have Devin Booker, who's probably a top 15 player in the league right now. You have KD, who's probably a top 3 player in the NBA right now. And you have a Hall of Fame point guard, Chris Paul. DeAndre Ayton's having career highs, averaging 18 and 10. You have a stacked lineup. I know their depth is going to be kind of questionable, but that combination of players is overwhelming, and I think it will be for most teams in the NBA. So that's kind of my instant reaction to the KD trade. Please let me know down below what you think. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.